Age of Empires 3 is the weirdest of the old school RTS series. A game that, back in 2005, radically departed from the others for a different feel. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition gives it new life, changing some things that begged to be changed and bringing the production values up to a much higher standard. It's the Age of Empires update that will be least appreciated, but most needed. And it adds the nice touch of some new single-player missions and civilizations that give AoE 3's unique twists on the genre a second chance. It also serves as a pretty sharp reminder that this is the most obtuse game in the series, because most of its clever tricks were never half as good as it thinks they are. The Definitive Edition upgrades graphics, colors, and textures across the board, all the way up to 4K resolutions. A surprising bonus is how the remastered soundtrack vastly improves the music, with richer bass filling out the horns and strings. In fact, this take on the main theme absolutely slaps. The old interface took up half the action and is nigh unplayable compared to a modern RTS, but the new one both works and comes in 3 versions. It's nothing fancy, but it works, and it includes some egregiously awful color choices. However, accessibility features are here to save the day. Underneath that updated exterior, Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition remains as hardcore and economy-focused RTS as the others in the series. To be competitive in multiplayer, you have to micromanage and flawlessly execute economic plans, tasking and retasking individual settlers to hunt game, chop trees, and mine silver with maximum efficiency. There are a lot of plates to keep spinning as you build a sprawling base to take over the map, including fortifications like walls and guard towers, all while carefully timing big spins of resources to advance from one age to the next. Age of Empires 3's early modern setting means there's more ranged combat than other Age games, but battles are still all about play and counterplay between units. Spears take down cavalry, cavalry charges wipe out muskets, and muskets shoot spears. Nothing about that core gameplay changes in the Definitive Edition. The unit movements and pathfinding feel just as jerky and physics-defying as I remember, for better and for worse. Boats especially still slip, spin, and slide around like soap in a bathtub rather than huge sailing ships. The biggest twist in Age of Empires 3, as opposed to the previous 2 games, is that your base doesn't stand alone. A system of home city cards allows you to bring in shipments of troops, new technologies, and resources from off the map. Carefully timing your shipments allows you to coordinate and pull off weird strategies that aren't feasible in other Age games' tight economic constraints. You can access unique units, get booms of resources out of nowhere, and place down powerful buildings like factories and forts using cards. It's extremely cool in theory, but extremely confusing in practice. It's just far too difficult to parse the strategies available for each civilization, let alone devise new ones, as you sort through the pile of possible cards while referencing each nation's tech tree. The only solution is pouring in hundreds of hours to find out if you enjoy the weird, real game behind it all. There are a ton of single-player campaigns included in the Definitive Edition, including over 60 missions and a handful of newly added historical scenarios. The campaigns are a fun enough way to spend some 30 to 40 hours, depending on difficulty setting, but it's pretty standard stuff. The main story is as goofy as ever. A bland, pseudo-historical thriller involving the Holy Grail, the Fountain of Youth, a magical bloodline, some stuff that was probably blatantly stolen from the Da Vinci Code. The other campaigns aren't much better, with the exception of the Native American-themed War Chiefs expansion campaign, which got a story rewrite to remove some insensitive content. The saving grace in this are the new historical battles, which cram some of the best gameplay ideas of the last 15 years into the Age of Empires 3 setting by using truly choice, weird historical deep cuts. Here's my favorite. A MOBA-like battle in East Africa, based on an ill-fated yet heroic attempt by Portuguese soldiers thousands of miles from home to help the Ethiopian emperor fight off the Somalian Adal Sultanate. If there were more like this, I'd have been much more enthusiastic about this definitive edition, but they end up as more of a taste of what might have been. Of course, what might have been are all decisions long past review criticism in this case, but the remaster does get credit for addressing some of the worst historical mistakes of the original. Fixes center around the Lakota and Haudenosaunee civilizations, correcting names, adding their real language and more authentic artwork, as well as removing historical inaccuracies. There are still glaringly ahistorical examples that I'd have liked to have seen cleared up, but it's a notable improvement. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition is a bold attempt to remaster the most controversial game in a respected series. The funky, experimental RTS at the core of AoE 3 is intact, but it's still just that. Weird. Like a stinky cheese, it just can't appeal to everyone. Probably a pretty small minority, actually. That said, the new graphics, UI, sound, and content make it much more fun to play, and will make it easier for AoE 3 to win converts among those who are trying it for the first time. The rest was harder to update, and though it's better than it was, the single-player scenarios will never be half as fun as multiplayer matches. For more strategy gaming, check out our reviews of Crusader Kings 3, Iron Harvest, and a Total War Saga, Troy. And for everything else, stick with IGN.